Welcome to today's chat, where we're going to dive into the inspiring journey of Aree Bly. She's a speaker, a facilitator, an author, a coach, and oddly, an actuary of over 25 years who has transformed her career into coaching, speaking, including on a TEDx stage, and empowering others. She's just marvelous, and I think her wisdom for women who are Gen X and boomers is so useful, genuinely useful. So join me, a non-math person, as we explore Aree's path to sustainable success, the challenges of embracing change, and the wisdom gained from aligning your personal values with your professional aspirations. So whether you're contemplating a career shift or seeking to enrich your current journey, Aree's wisdom and insight offer a roadmap to living authentically and intentionally. Let's find out about this. I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. Welcome to my realm. I'm Tamara Jorden, and this is Butterfly Days, the podcast that proves you're not past your prime. You're living in it right now, because women don't have expiration dates. Butterfly Days is a celebration of the extraordinary potential of Gen X and Boomer women. Throughout history, women have shared wisdom to uplift and empower one another. And you're about to learn hard-earned wisdom and best-kept secrets from interesting, inspiring women. So if you're ready to embrace your butterfly season with confidence, find joy in the present, and create a legacy that matters, you're in the right place. No more holding back. Let's spread our wings now. Here we go. Hi, everybody. Today I am with Aree Bly, who is a now retired actuary and an actuary by degree and by initial career choice. And Aree is an incredibly wise and insightful woman. And there is so much in what we're about to talk about that I think will really edify you and bless you on your journey. And I cannot wait to get started. Welcome to the show, Aree.
Thanks, Tammy. I'm excited to be here and chatting with you.
Yay. I'm super, super excited. You were a healthcare actuary for about 30 years. Is that correct?
Yes, for about almost 25 to 30 years. And I worked in the big corporate insurance companies, and I worked in consulting, and I worked in the US, I worked in Brazil, I was all over the place.
Incredible.
But it was a great and challenging career, but a lot of fun.
That is amazing. And so and at this point now, just a quick little perusal here, you've got a TED Talk under your belt. You have a book, which we'll talk about later. You have Alignment Ally, which was is it a coaching program that you did?
The name of my business is Alignment Ally. So I started with coaching and moved into more speaking, facilitating workshops. I have a online course that's coming out in the next couple weeks. So I've just been looking for ways that I can give back to analytical people and help them kind of create more sustainability in any way that I can help them.
I love that so much. And I love how you use your brain to follow your heart. I thought that it's so powerful about your work. And I'm wondering, okay, first of all, full disclosure, anyone who listens to this knows that I am not an analytical mind. I have other gifts, talents, and abilities, but I loved that you explained that you are supporting analytical minds and those of us who like to bring analysis into our mix, although we may not primarily be. But I'm wondering, what is your superpower, would you say, as an analytical mind?
It's seeing patterns. It's being able to recognize, some of the things that are happening that you can kind of tie the connections together. You're like, okay, now I see the pattern of my own activities, other people's decisions, and you're like, okay. And then once you see patterns, then you can make that conscious decision of, okay, do I break this? Do I continue it? Is it serving me?
You have control at that point.
Yeah.
That's kind of brilliant, because I think in the end, that's a lot of what wisdom is ability to see patterns. in people, in situations, in opportunities, all those things. So then what would the challenges of the analytical mind be?
It's I don't want to say unwillingness, but the maybe it's unwillingness, maybe it's inability, but like the emotions, you're like, okay, no, those are just distractions. I think all through my career, it's like, nope, it's an emotion. I don't need that because my brain is ready to do what it needs to. And I think I eventually realized that those emotions are actually information. They aren't drivers of your actions. They don't have to point you in a certain direction, but they can give you information that can help you make a decision about where you want to go.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. I think it was that fear or that avoidance of emotions as an actuary.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, full confession, I have downloaded onto my Kindle your book, Sustainable Success, and I love it because it's a very practical, usable book, even for me who I wouldn't be classified analytical mind, but I like that you taught me that sustainable success is expansive and energizing when you achieve it. And I'm wondering, can you, for the audience, tell us a little bit more about how you define sustainable success? Can I say that 3 times?
Yeah, I know.
And aligning.
Yeah. So I look at sustainable success as success that doesn't pull away from your wellness, your physical, emotional, or, inner wellness. So can you continue this for the long haul?
Yeah.
So that's what I see I can't even say it myself. Sustainable success is, can it be maintained for the long haul? Because a lot of times you see so many people, I did it myself, you burn out, you push so hard in your career, whether it's an analytical career or not, but you get in there and you want to do the best, you want to be perfect, you want to do it all. And at some point it isn't sustainable. And how do we kind of make the adjustments that we need in order to do that? And part of that is also then aligning with like, what is really true about me in today's moment? Not the me that I was 10, 20 years ago, not the aspirational me that, I expect to be, but what's true about me right now, and maybe the aspirational like 1 to 2 years from now me, and how do I live true to that person?
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And so what would you say is, because you often in the book you talk about being in alignment, and I know your company is Alignment Ally. What's alignment? How would you define that?
It starts with awareness and knowing what you are good at, what your values are, what your strengths are, where do you want to avoid, right? So it's that awareness, and then being willing to make decisions to keep you consistent with those aspects of you as much as possible.
Yeah, and that is your argument here, your thesis is that that's what helps keep momentum and sustain long-term growth, expansion, all of the good things that we hope for, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because if we are building our lives, our careers on something that isn't true to us, it's going to crumble. Like at some point, we're going to come to that point where we're like, wait, this isn't me. This isn't like who I am. It's taking too much energy to keep that pretense up.
Yeah.
And it's going to fall down. So it's, you need that in your foundation.
No, I think that's incredibly true. And a lot of us, Gen X and boomers, sometimes it took us to cresting 50 and losing some hormones to begin to see that. Some of us hit it before in various degrees and ways, particularly probably in career. But that sustainable success in being who we want is a little trickier. And if you're just pleasing everybody else, or if you're living off somebody else's agenda, you are destined to crash on that eventually.
Yeah.
If you can't find the nope, the other one, the off-ramp.
Absolutely.
And now, did you find that in your own life, or like, is this a personal revelation for you, or you observed it?
Oh, it's both. I absolutely lived it. In the book, I talk about a lot of traps that we get into, and a lot of them are analytically driven because we let our brains take the lead. But I think everybody can fall into them. It's like, tying yourself to your identity, getting stuck in success. Like once you've achieved something, I liken it to like, if you're going to grow a tree, you put in a lot of effort. You water it, you prune it, you fertilize it, you put in a lot of work and a lot of skills in making that tree grow. And then people can see the tree. They don't see what you put in. But you then tie your success to that tree. And you're like, I can't walk away from this tree because that tree is my success. And we forget that, no, what your success is rooted in is your skills and everything that you put into that tree. And you could take those anywhere you want.
Anywhere. Oh, gosh, that's so powerful for women who are looking to seg in any way to add more meaningful things to their lives, or, create second acts. Second acts is a real hunger in women of our age right now. Well, how do I do that? But I think you're saying something really important about that like, don't get too tied to who you have been or what you have done to the exclusion of something better.
Right.
Something more. One thing that I learned from the book, which I took German in high school, in full disclosure, for an entire year. So I'm, a huge German speaker at this point. But you talk about Einstellung, and I wondered if you wouldn't mind sharing with us and translating Einstellung, and also telling us about how it might impact sustainable success.
So Einstellung it's basically like a set. We are problem solvers, right? Especially analytical people. So the minute that we start kind of looking for the right answer, we see something that would work, we have a tendency of not looking any farther. And we just kind of run with that. And that limits us. And our brains are not our friends a lot of times. I think I learned that along my career too. But yeah, so this effect, it's like, okay, well, there's an answer. I'm going to run with that. And you hold on to that at the detriment of not seeing other opportunities or options or experimenting with other paths. And it's really your brain saying, well, this is good. This is right. We'll put all our eggs in this set, and we won't see anything else that's around us.
Yeah. Well, you begin to set your own barrier. Like at first, it seems like #winning. I figured this out and I'm doing it. But if you stay at the ball too long, it will become, what is the line about what looks like it's a path ahead? If you look at it from a higher vantage point, becomes like a cage or a trap. It's you've made walls that you can't get out of.
Right.
Wow. I love that. I think that it is easy if you've had a success just to go back to it and to never venture out because it's risky.
It is risky. And nobody wants to be a novice again. You're like, nope, that was from my 20s when I didn't know anything, but I thought I did.
Yeah.
But to kind of voluntarily say, okay, I'm going to do something that I don't know what I'm doing to the extent that I did. But, you're differently equipped now because you have all of that other experience. You have other skills. You just need to figure out how to apply them in a different way. And you have to be willing to step back and go, okay, let me look at the bigger picture, the bigger world. Like, what is different about it now than when I made some decisions earlier in my life? And how can I, pivot or change how I want to show up, given the tools that are now in my backpack?
Yeah. Nobody is saying to us that the things that you did earlier were based on choices that you made likely as a child or a young adult, and that your earned wisdom now applied to a problem is going to give you a better solution.
Yeah.
At least a different one that's strong.
Right. Right. And honestly, the choices I made, I try not to think that I made bad choices in the past, because you're making them based on the information that you had and the skills that you had. And, I had a great career as an actuary, but at some point I was like, okay, there's it doesn't quite fit who I am right now.
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing to come to. And, because you're like, okay, does that mean that the last 25 years was not the right path? But it wasn't. It was the right path, but it's only part of your path. It's not your whole path. So you've got branches at any point, and you can change your direction and say, okay, that was my first big chapter. And what's next may mean stepping a little bit to the right onto another path and leaving a few parts of it behind. I don't practice as an actuary. I don't do the technical work, but I'm still, involved with and talking to actuaries a lot in my work. So, I haven't left that understanding of the career and those connections with the people that I love to hang out with. And, so you can choose to what degree you want to kind of step out of the role that you're in.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's kind of a beautiful thing to have accomplished something and then step a little different, because you sort of begin to see, oh, I've got a few more tools in my box than I was thinking.
Yeah.
And by being willing to be a beginner, or, we always go with yoga terminology here at Butterfly Days, if you come to the mat with beginner's mind, what you learn is kind of awesome. I mean, it becomes rather an adventure than the torment, perhaps, that we thought. Do people struggle when you talk about that? Do people struggle with having identified with what they've done, that being them, and then if they don't do that, who would they be?
Yeah, absolutely. And because a lot of it, especially if you are successful, there's a lot of ego tied in with that. There's a lot of, but people come to me because I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I have, a good perspective on this part of my life. But yeah, it's hard to go back and then be the one that's asking questions and learning and kind of going up that curve. But yeah, it's hard to let go of something, especially if you put a lot of time and energy into it. And that's why I think you have to not look at it as like it was a wrong path. It's just time for that chapter to end, if you're thinking about it in that context, or it's you've evolved into something different, and you need to recognize what you fit into now.
Yeah, I love that. So if we're thinking about evolution, then like as I read you, I think that your formula is kind of, if you want to evolve, look at your core values, combine that with your natural strengths, and then put that in the context of the landscape in which you are. Do you think that's right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I think it's looking at, the landscape around you as far as what are my options? What direction do I want to go? Not what's my final destination, but where do I want to explore? Like, oh, that area over there looks really interesting. I want to go check out those woods. Or wait, there's a really big, open space over here. Let me go see what's going on over there. Yeah. So, another thing that analytical people tend to do is, they're very goal oriented. So it's like, okay, my goal is that peak over there. And, I'm going to, plan out my path from where I'm standing to get to that peak. And then we don't diverge from that easily, right? Because
what do you think about that?
I think it's good to have, a direction that you're going and a goal. But if it's too far away, we're going to get to a point where we'll have a brand new vantage point and we will see so much more of the landscape that if we don't give ourselves the opportunity to say, is that the right goal still? Is there something else that I want to be heading towards? We're really keeping ourselves boxed in.
Yeah. I like how you said we're keeping ourselves boxed in. Mm-hmm. Like, I think that's a significant thing, is to own your power in that.
Yeah.
Because it's frightening to think I can't move, but it's almost more frightening to think, oh gosh, I could move.
Right.
And now I have to own all that. I love that so much. The other thing that I wanted to share with people, because this is so freaking good. If you will humor me,
yes.
On LinkedIn, you post a little blog post every so often. Is that regularly posted now, or?
The Sustainable Brain Lab,
Yep.
that comes out every other week. Yes.
Okay, so every other week, I'm telling you, you say some things, I'm just like, dadgum, I can use that this week. And what you just posted that I found, you may have something more recent, but I think this is most, is you did a thing on reputation versus brand. And if you'd humor me, I'd like to read it and then ask you some questions.
Absolutely.
You said, and this is so great, at some point in our careers, many of us are told we need a personal brand. Now, this is obviously for business people, but I think any of our listeners can apply this to their general lives, whether they're in a profession or whether they're looking at second act that's not necessarily professional work. So let's roll with that. Even as an actuary, I've said those words to myself and others. What do you want to be known for? What's your elevator pitch? If I Googled you, what would I find? And while that advice isn't wrong, it's not the whole story. Most of us don't start out trying to build a personal brand. We simply do good work. God, what a great line. And over time, our reputation forms. People begin to associate us with something. The go-to model builder, the strategic thinker, the last-minute fixer, the detail person, the one who always says yes. And eventually, that identity starts to stick with others and ourselves. And if we're not careful, it will start to limit us. Both our brands and our reputations can lead us into an identity trap. And this can backfire in a few key ways. One, you're known for something that no longer excites you, but it's comfortable and others count on you. Two, you've so narrowly defined yourself that your broader potential is now overlooked, which I think you mean by yourself or by others. And then three, you spend more energy crafting how you're seen than showing up for what matters most. And then you go on to say this, which I thought was amazing. Let's distinguish between two related but very different concepts. One, personal brand as how you present yourself to the world, especially people who don't know you yet. It's your introduction, your welcome sign. Especially as consultants, your personal brand helps bring clients to you. And for corporate actuaries, it becomes important as you step into external leadership or seek new opportunities. That's personal brand. Yep. Versus reputation. Reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Reputation is what people say about you when you're not in the room. It's what you're known for by those who have experienced you, and reputation is earned. That was so freaking good. I could just make that whole podcast.
Thank you.
What, we're trying to speak to women, Gen X and Boomer women who are thinking about career cappers, like really moving into something that could be a final career push, or they've begun that work of thinking about, okay, career's in an okay place, kids are gone, now what?
Right.
Like, how do you think of reputation and brand, and like bring us into that mindset, into that sphere?
Yeah, it's interesting because I had to fight with this myself as I started a new career business, and I'm like, okay, that's when I was so focused on like brand. I'm like, okay, this is what I need people to see when they think of me, and to some degree, it's a little bit different than what my reputation was, because my reputation was built on being a good actuary. So it's like, okay, that's a very different piece of it. There's elements like we talked about earlier about like the, what did you put into growing that success? There are elements of your reputation that transfer very well, and that you want to pull along. But the personal brand, I think, the things that I wanted to start focusing on for personal brand is it has to be authentic, right? You cannot be putting a brand out there that is not true to you.
Yeah.
But it does not have to be based on kind of who you are today. It can be aspirational. It can kind of be, so you want people to think of you for things that you may not be doing right now. So, when you start a new job or side hustle or, experience, we have to get comfortable with saying, I am a speaker. I am a author. I am, right? And put that as part of our brand, even though our reputation doesn't have kind of that earned element other than, well, I know I'm a hard worker. I know I'm, a good communicator, whatever. I know I've got some things that will support that, what I'm putting out for in front of me. But yeah, so your personal brand is like, okay, when someone's looking at you, when they're just meeting you, when they're seeing you online, like, what are you putting out? And then we also need to just be paying attention to what are we leaving behind with people after we've worked with them, after we've connected with them. Like, that's the piece that the reputation is being built on. So, we have to pay attention to both of those. We can influence both of those.
Yeah.
We should pay attention to whether they're aligned or whether it's like, well, you say X in your personal brand and everything you show up as is completely different than that. That makes it hard for you to grow and to, something in there is not authentic. And it's probably your brand, right? Because your reputation is how you're actually showing up. That's your actions. That's your impact. That's your influence. That's what's really, showing up when you're working with people.
Yeah. Kind of in a way, sustainable success says you are not what you have created. You can walk away and plant a different tree. But in a way, what you're saying kind of here, I'm not sure if it's brand or reputation. Now I'm getting tangly, but you are not what you have done.
Right.
Like you are not the work. You are whoever you want to be. And if you want to be a podcaster, then you must add that into your understanding of yourself and how you refer to yourself. Do women tend to struggle with that a lot, with the imposter syndrome of that aspect of that,
I think so. And especially, I know analytical women, they've done a lot of studies, and women like to be able to kind of show the finished product. They don't want to show the messy middle. So when you're making a change, you don't have a finished product. You are like, you're just trying to show what you're hoping to be. So yeah, so what can you do? How can you do that so that you're not feeling that imposter syndrome? That's where you have to kind of say, okay, looking at who you are and what skills you have, like, believe in your worth, believe in your abilities, but also say, you know what, I'm not that. And here's where the key word is yet. I am a podcaster, or I'm not one yet. You can say in your head, but when you introduce yourself, go ahead and say, I'm a podcaster.
Yeah, own it.
So bridge that with the word yet to get that, imposter syndrome beaten down a little bit.
Yeah, because it's a thief, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's incredibly beautiful. I'm thinking about how can we not let our brand limit us in this chapter as women over 50, basically. Like what should we have front of mind to make sure that we're able, because a lot of women are going to do things after 50. It might be professional, and it may be volunteer work, and it may be artistically. I don't even know. I don't really want to do categories, but they're going to do things that they did not imagine or have not yet defined them yet. So how can we not let our brand limit us in this chapter?
I think part of it is allowing yourself to add to your brand, right? And I think adding to is maybe the right way to think of it. Like, I had to, and I still say actuary, like, in my email signature. It now it says, speaker, facilitator, author, coach, actuary. And I got comfortable with, and I think women can get comfortable with saying, I am X and Y. We've been doing that our whole lives. Yeah. I am an actuary and a mother and a spouse. Yeah. And, it's one more thing. So pick something. Yeah. It's like, what's your next and? What else will you be?
Yeah, I love that because when I think back to your sustainable success model, you talk about core values, natural strengths, and landscape that, where you are. And I think a lot of the people that I'm seeing have real success after 50 and finding things that are second acts that are deeply fulfilling. They have moved into doing things that were in the area of natural strengths. I have a friend who is volunteering as a CASA, court-appointed advocate for kids in the judicial system,
Yeah.
and it turns out that she has a finance career, and yet a lot of the skills that she was using in that, and a lot of her mothering, boy, she's a formidable force as an advocate for a kid now with those skills, even though those two jobs are nothing similar.
Right.
But by allowing herself to be a both and, she's moved into that and to the absolute blessing of a child.
Right. Yeah. But we also make the mistake of thinking that our strengths haven't changed, that we haven't picked up all these tool sets along the way. So, if we take time to look around like she did, and it's like, oh, wait, I've got the financial brain and the compassionate mothering heart. And if you put that together, yeah, there's so much more you can build.
Yeah, well, you've got a lot to mine at that point. Most of us, listen, if you crest 50 and you're still here, you have lived through many, many things and you have learned many, many things. And I kind of worry that society is sending messages that you're over or that you're kind of washed up, you're over the hill, whatever, you're past your prime. But I'm thinking of how many things I now understand so much better, and that any problem that I would go at this point is going to have a much better solution than perhaps when I was younger, because of what I bring to the table. But no one is saying that to women, or maybe to men, but this podcast being aimed at the women, but nobody's saying that to us, that like, wow, you really can get much broader in what your natural strengths are. But the other piece of that you give so beautifully is you talk about your core values, your natural strengths in the landscape. My friend who became a CASA didn't need to move to Chicago to make it happen. She just looked around where she was and saw what's need where I am and what do I bring to the table that may or may not be about my career.
Right.
And was able to seg from there. Is that consistent sort of with the structure of what you're teaching here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, the landscape is changing, both because we're moving through it, but all the external forces, like, the world is changing. The communities we live in are changing. Everything is, always in flux. So we have to be adept at recognizing, like, what are the opportunities, what are the options around me right now? And then also get, comfortable with just experimenting and kind of making it, okay, I think CASA might be a good opportunity for me. Let me try it without kind of feeling like I have to commit to this for the next 10 years of my life, or I have to like it because now I'm choosing it. No, you're experimenting. You're testing it out. You're thinking that this could be a good fit because I have these skills here and this perspective here, and if I put that together, it might fit.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't, that's fine.
Go
too.
somewhere else. Yeah. Do something else.
You've learned something. Yeah. You've gotten more information. What needs to change? Maybe it's a little tweak. Maybe you're like, wow, I didn't realize that I really just don't like kids anymore.
Yeah. And I've had about enough of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, Habitat for Humanity needs a manager. So guess what? You could do whatever you do.
Right.
Or, you've got art skills and you've always wanted to try it. Go for that. I love what you're saying, because I think a lot of times in our age range, people stop advocating for how profoundly impactful it is to stay curious and do what you're saying, experiment. There's nothing wrong with experimenting. As a matter of fact, what I hear you saying is it's an advantage and it's a smart play at this point.
Yes, absolutely. And it's an easy way to give yourself that permission and almost get past that imposter syndrome too, because you're like, no, I'm not saying I'm tied to this for the next whatever. I'm experimenting. So I'm allowed to not know everything. I'm allowed to be looking at this with a critical eye and saying, okay, did I enjoy that? Did I not? How is this, do I want to do this for the next year?
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's the biggest hunger in the women that I'm talking to is they're like, I want to find what I can next chapter do next. And that may or may not be something that's money making. But they're like, what I really would like, because the first part, I really largely needed to lean into my need for money.
Right.
I thought I would eat during these last decades. And that led to a lot of things. But they're thinking about it, and they're looking for something that will fulfill them, that will be meaningful, whether it's work or whether it's volunteer. They're looking for things that aren't just to pay the bills. There's a teeny bit more luxury in that, I would say, these days. And I love that we could play with that a little bit, and that it's good to be intentional about that.
Yes. Yes.
Want it and reach for it.
Right. Right. And intentionality is huge, because that's where, because honestly, it's kind of that balance of, at this point in your life, you're like, I have a lot less in front of me than I have behind me. So that gets us a little bit stressed out and like, no, I have to make the right decision right now. And I don't have time to make a bad decision or head down the wrong path. So, don't make it a 10-year experiment, but you still have time and space to experiment and learn and figure it out. Right. So, but that, the fact that it's our second act, the fact that we're like, wait, but I only maybe have 20 years or whatever it is that I want to do.
Is that enough?
Yeah. How, we got to battle back against that. Like, you've got to make a decision today so that you can get started. But yeah,
you don't want that to be a delimiter, because what if it turns out you have 35 and you get to the 20 and you're like, Dad, burn it. What was I thinking? But I love what you said, because you touched on something that's really kind of fundamental in Butterfly Day's work, which is that we lean into memento mori. Remember that you are mortal. And in that remembrance, let me live now.
Yeah.
Let me make some choices now so that I don't waste this gift. And if you're only thinking, I can't move from what I'm doing, or what if it's not good, or what if, I need to change it, you're going to get stuck and just waste the gift.
Yeah.
With all the scary what ifs. I love your use of the word experiment. I think it just gives us so much room to play a little bit more. And we've really, you can work hard and still play.
Yes, absolutely.
If you do it smart. Yes.
Yeah. And your experimenting can be done on the side. If you do need to keep that job that just isn't lighting you up anymore, like what can you do on the side to experiment for things that might light you up, that you do in your evenings or on a Saturday or
And brilliant add on that, because that's so true. You don't have to do something for a living or full time to have it be meaningful to you or to anybody that you serve. A lot of what women are telling me now is that what they find in ways that they find to give, even if it's small or particular to a certain segment of the population, it's still so rich and meaningful. And it would be a shame to minimize that, so that you didn't give yourself permission, and you don't know what you're doing at 55, just a little bit on the side. By the time you get to 70 and you have real wide open space, might be something you could lean further into, because roads lead on to roads,
Yeah, absolutely.
Robert Frost and I agree on this.
Yes.
Gosh, that is so beautiful. I think a lot of your work sets us up to be able to see that whether we're an analytical mind or not. Are there any cautions that you think are particularly resonant for women who are thinking about second chapters and want to be open and experiment and intentional, but where's the bridge too far in this?
It's different for everyone. I think it's knowing yourself and knowing what your risk tolerance is, where is it going to be an unhealthy and not exciting stress? Right?
Yeah.
Like paying attention to your own wellness along the path. It's like there's that, this is new, this is scary, this is it. And at some point, like if it gets too scary, it's unhealthy for you again. So it's like, where's that healthy aspect of, okay, I need to get out of my comfort zone, but not to the angst zone, right? So knowing where your line is. And it's different for everybody, right?
Yeah. I pointed to my heart and said, yes, listen to this. And I thought, well, maybe not for an analytical person. Where would an analytical person? I am more creative and emotional, so I'd listen to my heart and then filter it through my head. Give me the analytical version.
Well, and I think I talk about this in the book too. It's like you need to pay attention to the other signs, the emotion, the sleeplessness. Like, are you losing sleep because you're trying something new?
Yes.
Then that's information. Your body is trying to tell you something, right? So, and that's where you can start looking for patterns like, oh, wait, I've lost sleep. I've woken up at 3 a.m. worried about this for the last week. Maybe that's something to start thinking about then. It's like, okay, why is that? This is telling me something. So getting better at listening to, the things and recognizing the patterns of our bodies, because you're right, our bodies, our guts, everything tells us information.
Tell us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether your brain likes it or not, your
Right.
body will tell you the truth if you can pay attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of post 50 life and you kind of wonder if menopause doesn't just jerk you right into paying attention to that body.
Right. Yeah.
You may not like this, but you're going to listen to me.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, so I always ask and I forgot to. Are you comfortable sharing your age with us?
I am 53 this year.
And are you weirded out by the number on your cake now, or are you pretty zen about it?
I'm pretty zen about it because I can't change it. And all I can do is live my life the best I can today and, with what I've got. So, I enjoy whatever. I know too many people who haven't gotten here to feel bad about where I am.
Yeah, preach that. Yeah, no, because the alternative was just to stop with that number, and that seems not optimal.
Right. Or to pretend that you're something else. I'm like, no, there's a lot that's come to me because I've gotten to this age. Like I've lived through, like we talked earlier, about so much. I'm like, I'm not going to wish that away.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it's actually, it feels better just to savor it.
Mm-hmm.
Be grateful for what brought me this far. So I often ask people this, and I'm so interested what you would say. People are always adding things in that they want to do over 50. But I'm so fascinated by editing, and I'm wondering, what are 2 things that you have edited out that you feel comfortable telling post 50? What are a couple of things? I don't do that anymore.
I say no to a lot more invitations because, and I have a friend who does this. I'm an introvert. I love hanging out with people sometimes, but other times I'm like, and I've got friends who know that about me, and she's like, hey, I'm having some ladies over on Saturday night. There's probably going to be about 20 of us. It's okay if you don't want to come. I just wanted you to know you're welcome if you want.
Yeah.
But no, I think I've started really just being more aware of what I'm saying yes to, right? So I'm just editing out my natural instinct to say yes to every invitation and say, you know what? No, I want to just stay home that night, or I want to be able to, do something with my family that night.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And is it a smaller group thing or I just need to stay home because that's where I recharge?
It's I just recharge, if I need to, if I know I've had a busy time or I've spent a lot of time talking with people, I'm like, I know I
Yeah.
just need some downtime.
Yeah.
Or if it's a bunch of people that I know them all, then
Yeah.
I'm like,
Slightly
if it's
different.
different, it's like, oh, this is you know, a gathering of all our neighbors. I'm like, oh, I know, it's not going to be as
Yeah.
stressful, so or
Yeah.
draining.
Just
Not
accessible.
stressful, but just draining. So,
Yeah.
but
No,
yeah,
that's
so
amazing. And it's so important that we care for ourselves by respecting what our limits are in kind ways. That's actually so beautiful. I kind of love listening to the way that you perceive and see the world. And I am very grateful that you would come and share that with this audience because a lot of us are stumbling around in the wilderness trying to find a path forward and just the calm, strong way that you bring that into focus is really helpful. If people want to find you, again, your book Sustainable Success, I got that on Amazon. You have your company Alignment Ally. They can
yep,
find you at Aree Bly on LinkedIn, and your
yep,
Aree is Areebly
yep, yes,
or your website, areebly.com,
yes,
areebly.com.
yeah.
Um, although for many years, when I would see your emails, I would think to myself, why did she name her website Aree Bly? Yeah. That's when you don't have an analytical mind,
Right.
that's the kind of stupid conclusions you can come to.
It's well, and I have another website for Alignment Ally as well. But if you
Oh,
put Alignment Ally together, it looks like align mentally
oh,
as well. I'm like, well, I'm just gonna let that ride
yeah,
because that works too.
not bad.
Right. But yeah, that's
That
funny.
I love that.
But yeah, absolutely. LinkedIn is a great place to find me. I'm probably most active out there. But yeah, my website has information on the book and everything that I'm doing.
And all the things and that you
Yeah.
speak to groups. You're a fantastic group speaker. I can
Thank you.
having had you speak at my group Legacy 22 and had you blow the doors off that night. Um, seriously, I still tell people we had some incredible high
Mhm.
level people come in that did it for a living, and you came in because you were just starting to practice it, and
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I had a list of things that I learned from her that night, and she was so warm and engaging. So you're just a blessing, and
Thank you.
so I want to thank you for your time. And I always end saying what I hope. And in this case, Ari, I hope you find amazing new adventures that with your brain that will allow your heart to feel fulfilled. I hope you continue to help more people understand sustainable success across lots of different disciplines and careers because I think we need that in this country. I hope you know your reputation in rooms that you are not in is one of trust and admiration because of how you have chosen to show up and what a blessing you are in that regard.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for helping us align. I want you to know I'm rooting for you, Ari Bly.
Thank you.
Holy cow. I hope that you enjoyed this episode with Ari as much as I did. She's just so helpful for those of us, trying to be intentional about second acts, just that helping us understand that sustainable success is expansive and energizing. And if we're intentional in how we go about it, it can really feed and give us the energy to craft something so beautiful beyond what we currently have. And I love her formula. Remember, she said if you take your core values and you add to that your natural strengths and you think about the landscape that you're in, that's when you can innovate and create something more beautiful. She talked about reputation and brand, which was super helpful because we don't just have to be our brand. Over 50, it's time. We can mix it up. We can become something a little different. We can seg a little to the left or the right. We've learned enough to be able to do that. And just how interesting and important that is. But if we'd like to do that, we can do it thoughtfully, intentionally, and give ourselves permission to experiment, to allow our curiosity to lead us to a little bit different places and not just remain trapped in who we've always been or who we think we are, but to really live a more expansive and beautiful life. And you know something, that's what I believe for all of us, is that it's possible to craft beautiful next chapters when we're intentional about it. So this coming time ahead, as you think on the things that you've learned today, you just remember this. I'm rooting for you. I'm so grateful you listened to this episode. I hope it was a real value to you. If there's a sister in your life who needs this message, please share it, just like women have done to lift each other up over the centuries and across cultures. Women lifting each other is so important. It's why I do this work. And to avoid FOMO and keep up leveling your own life, make sure you don't miss the next episode. You may be losing hormones, but your life has given you powerful perspective. And I believe you have something to give that no one else does, that the world needs. So remember, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.